The courtroom fell into a suffocating silence. The air felt heavier than concrete. Everyone turned to look at the boy, no, the young man, standing before the judge. 17 years old, shackled hands, a defiant fire in his eyes that flickered with fear beneath the surface. He had said almost nothing through the entire trial. Not when the prosecutor painted him as a monster. Not when his own lawyer begged him to speak. And not when the jury came back with a guilty verdict on a charge that would lock him away for life. Now, it was all up to him. Speak up or disappear behind bars forever. And yet, he stayed silent. His name was Jalen Cruz, but the streets knew him as Ghost. Not because he was invisible, but because nobody really knew where he came from. No birth certificate, no family, just a mother who died when he was 9, and a whisper of a father who'd vanished long before that. Jalen grew up in foster care, the kind of places where kids fought over bread and cried themselves to sleep, where birthdays went unnoticed and trust was a currency no one could afford. He learned to survive, to steal, to run, to fight, and eventually, to lead. By 15, he wasn't just another kid on the block. He was the kid, the one who others followed because he had nothing to lose. But with leadership came enemies, and with enemies came trouble. The charge: armed robbery and attempted murder. A corner store had been held up. The clerk had been shot. And though the evidence was thin, a single fingerprint and a witness willing to lie were enough to bury Jalen alive in the system. But even now, facing life in prison, he refused to give them what they wanted. The judge leaned forward. Jalen, you may not understand what's at stake. You will die in prison unless you help us understand your background. There is someone powerful, who has been protecting you from behind the scenes. We need to know who he is. Still, Jalen stayed silent. Weeks passed after the sentencing. Jalen sat in a cold cell in juvenile detention, awaiting transfer to adult prison. He barely spoke, ate little. The other inmates gave him space, not out of respect, but because they knew there was something different about him. Then one night, it happened. He woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. A dream? No, a memory. He was 5, hiding under a table while 2 men argued. One of them had a voice like thunder and hands that glowed with rings. The other begged, just let the boy stay. Suddenly, a name surfaced in his mind like a long-buried truth clawing its way out. Senator Jonathan Marison, the man who'd mysteriously appeared at his mother's funeral with sunglasses and guards. The man who never looked directly at Jalen but left an envelope filled with cash. The man who'd shown up only once in the flesh but haunted every year of Jalen's life. A week later, something cracked in him. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the guilt. Maybe it was the realization that dying for someone who never claimed you wasn't courage, it was tragedy. So, he asked for a pen. The judge stared at the letter Jalen had written. His hands trembled as he read aloud in chambers. His name is Jonathan Marison. He is my father. He knew. He's always known. He just never wanted the world to know me. It was like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. The news exploded. Senator Marison, beloved public figure, family man, rumored presidential candidate, was now at the center of a scandal that shook the nation. Jalen was pulled from the transfer list. His case reopened. DNA confirmed the truth. And the political machine that had once buried him now scrambled to manage the damage. For the first time in his life, Jalen wasn't just a name on a police report. He was a story, a face, a voice. Reporters flocked. Advocates rallied. The narrative shifted from criminal to child lost in a system that failed him. But it wasn't easy. Marison denied everything at first. Claimed blackmail. Demanded silence. But then photos surfaced. Letters. The proof was undeniable. Under public pressure, the senator resigned. In a teary, nationally broadcast statement, he admitted the truth: I failed him. Not just as a father, but as a man. In the months that followed, Jalen's charges were dismissed due to misconduct and new evidence pointing to another suspect. But the scars didn't disappear with the handcuffs. He was free, but still broken. Therapy came slow. Trust came slower. But one day, at a community event for youth justice, Jalen stepped on stage to speak. His voice was steady, clear. I spent most of my life believing silence was strength. That I had to carry everything alone. But the truth, speaking out saved my life. I'm not here today because I'm lucky. I'm here because I finally stopped protecting the people who never protected me. The crowd stood. Some cried. Some clapped. All listened. Today, Jalen Cruz is 21. He runs a nonprofit called The Ghost Project, aimed at helping foster youth find their voice before the system swallows them whole. He doesn't talk to his father anymore, though letters sometimes arrive, never opened. But he keeps one photo by his bedside, him at 5 years old, staring up at the sky from the steps of a shelter. A reminder of where he came from. And how far he'll go.